This Future Construct podcast episode is supported by Applied Software. Applied Software is on a mission to transform industry by empowering their clients and championing innovation with real-world expert consultants. So visit ASTI.com, it's ASTI.com, and please let them know that we here at Future Construct and BIM Designs sent you. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Amy Peck, host of Future Construct podcast. Today, we have Cristina Savian, who is the founder and CEO of BeWise, and who's also the host of the weekly Clubhouse series, House of Digital Twins. Welcome, Cristina.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we have a lot to cover today. I definitely want to talk about House of Digital Twins because I think that's a really compelling topic. But you have such an interesting background, and I'd love to hear a little bit just about what was your journey and what led you to start BeWise?
Okay, so you want me to start from the end or from the beginning?
Well, depending on which has the best dramatic effect.
Oh, okay, I see. So the boring bit, but I started my career in 1998. So yeah, over 22 years ago. I'm originally from a town in the north of Italy called Torino, where I'm actually at the moment. I'm managing some personal family business. So yeah, I think it's the first time ever I do a podcast in my hometown.
Nice.
But yeah, it is actually. So anyway, so I started my career, and I started as a chartered land surveyor. That's how I basically started the industry. I've always been fascinated with open spaces. And I studied both land surveying, building surveying, and then immediately went to land. I was not interested in buildings, but be more like be out there all the time. I worked here for a few years, but then in 2005, I moved to London. I spent over 15 years based in London, working for local authorities, worked for the London Olympics. It's always very strange this time of the year when, we have the Olympics on because what is behind. And amazing, fascinating machine. And I can't even imagine what it's like doing it through this spatial, interesting time we are all going through. So yeah, I cannot even imagine the logistics of that. But anyway, and the complexity, which is really difficult, I think is just on a different level. However, anyway, and then I always been a technologist. So what happened is while working in one of the local authorities in London, in Greenwich, I started working in some interesting pieces, and I was always the person who says, we can find a better way of doing this, and we're wasting a lot of time, and we can improve things. And so I did, and I ended up apparently creating a pretty clever technology solution, which was actually discovered because it was using some of the Autodesk products. So Autodesk discovered what it did. No surprise, a couple of years later, I was headhunted by them, looking after the technology, the technical sales for pre-sales for North Europe. So I had a traveling job, which it's very strange to say these days, but I was doing 3-4 countries a week sometimes.
Wow.
Just, yeah, I know. But, Europe is an hour, an hour and a half, pretty much So anyway, so I had, amazing time just traveling mostly across Europe, a bit of America, moved across the organization, started working on looking after major accounts, worked in America, India, and then that's it. And then I just said, it's time for me to do something different. I started the career obviously quite early, but I started studying in, the evening, and I actually throughout, my career, I managed to collect few academic degrees from civil engineering to business. And at the time I was actually finishing my executive MBA in Cambridge, the University of Cambridge. And then I just said, you know what, I need a change. I need something different. And to be honest, I never really expected to start my own business. But what happened, I knew I was not happy with what I had. And so one day I just quit my job. So I did, like literally like that, with no plan whatsoever. and then one night I picked my, the company, and I was absolutely sure I was going to fail. Like, for sure I was going to fail. It was just like, it's not possible. This is gonna work. The next day, I picked BY, built environment wise. I not entirely sure what part of my brain I was going to sell, and then I sent 5 emails the next day, 5 emails with my new email address. And honestly, generally, those emails said, hi, this is my new email address. I start my own business. Well, you know what I know, right? So if you need me, you know where to find me. Literally, no service, like nothing, like no plan whatsoever. I just decided that I was going to basically, go out there and just say, well, people know me. I'm not, obviously, right? So if they think I can help, they will reach out. And so they did. 2 weeks later, I received a phone call from some people in north of France, south of France. When I was one of startups, new CEO, actually, Exotodesk, raised the cash, jumped on a plane, went to Antipolis, helped them with adaptation of this new product for construction. And then the next month, I was to the product launch in LA. And then I came back to London, and then literally all customers just came coming, and it was absolutely, I don't know, it was, unexpected, but I never had to really advertise myself. I just had to be myself, just show up at events and say, this is who I am, and this is what I think I can do. So I started working with a lot of startups that have products for construction. So using my engineering knowledge and industry knowledge, the technology experience, as well as the business experience, and just like combine all together and basically help them to figure out how to bring the product to market. That, as you know, it's not easy to innovate in the industry. And in the last few years, I started also working with the very, very large organizations that they're exposed to the big names, but often they're missing the point solutions that actually fix some of the the issues and the problems they had. So started working with them, and then in the last few years, started actually as a very personal interest. I started all my digital twin, world. And I started like this journey into this digital twin world. So what happened is, it was the 14th of August of 2018. I was actually in London. What happened, the Morandi Bridge collapsed here in Italy. Originally, now it's been rebuilt not too far away from here. It's the way how you get to the seaside. And honestly, generally, my heart sunk. I just said, this is not possible. We can't have, I know I've been working mostly with civil infrastructures and trying to innovate. And as a professional, been trying to drive innovation in the industry. It's just unacceptable. Not because I know our civil infrastructure, worldwide is failing, but the fact that we don't see that happening, like we can't prevent, and we have a major event like that, with 43 people dying, it was just unacceptable for me. So I started looking at what could have prevented that from happening. And then actually when I started this digital twin journey, and what happened is I was actually in London doing a lecture at the UCL Bartlett School of Construction. It was an evening lecture, public and opening, and I decided to share some of the work that I was doing when at the time nobody was talking about digital twin. It was only a couple of years ago. And what happened was the week of the Gemini Principle being published in the UK, which is also one of the major pieces of work that completely changed the landscape for the last few years. And since then, I kind of like, I've been basically, involved with, all of this, the digital, team work that also in the last, few months. So I started, in March. I discovered this new social media hub called Clubhouse. And honestly, just one day and decided, that's it, I'm starting a club. And a couple of weeks earlier, I published, so I've been blogging and writing, articles, some of my experiences, and being always very open sometimes about the frustrations on being a professional, trying to innovate, and all the obstacles you have. And in that case, a few weeks earlier, I was doing this. I wrote this article, and it was about this experience that, I can share. It was about Saudi Arabia and the big, massive bid. And then my frustration, and I really felt how I was in the middle of the house of cards, and the plot and all those dynamics and the politics and everything. So, and I called that article a House of Digital Twins, right? Basically recalling all those similarities. And that's it. It was Clubhouse. So for me, there was not even a question how I was going to call it. And since then, we now have 700 members. I had amazing people that start joining me in running some of, obviously, the rooms. So we run rooms in English on a Tuesday. Wednesday tends to be German. Thursday is Italian. And then we have recently also started with French. And we run 50 rooms in total, which was massive achievement in only a few months. We actually took holiday break for August. And now we are planning the new schedule. So as a format, in our room, I don't know if you know how familiar you are with Clubhouse. People just
people just come in
and people just come in. And we normally have one guest speaker, and we pick a topic and one main speaker or a couple of speakers which are very, very interested into the topic, or very experienced and very knowledgeable, and they share their knowledge. And I think if there is, from my experience, one of the most fascinating things, especially for, as you know, the moment everyone talks about digital twin, right? And everyone talks about the theory on how and the benefits and the challenges and so on. But everything is, most of this content is filtered, is marked, and it's polished. So what happened is I discovered on Clubhouse, you find the unfiltered versions most of the time, because those conversations, they're gone. I mean, we don't record this, the rooms. People have been asking, why don't you record the rooms? And everything is like, no, you have to be there because that's the whole purpose, because you're going to hear something. We're not recording, right? So either that or, and it's gone. So people open up. People really say, I had enough of these. People, or, call it, bullshit, or, whatever, call it BS. But, this is it. So, and I think it has been an outstanding experience, especially as a consultant, as I, work on many different, type contracts. In the last year and a half, my long-term partner decided to accept a job in Australia, which meant I also relocated myself in the middle of, launching my business, but also, expand, usually, my network, and now it's like literally, global. And what I found fascinating, the challenges are, the same. And we all try to be, I think we all know the answer most of the time, but for some reasons we're too afraid to speak up, to share them, or if we do in this type of environments, and I don't know, we're worried to be judged on, and so on. So honestly, it's been, I think a very, unexpected, surprise. So now I'm wondering how it's gonna go. Obviously, what's gonna be the next 50 rooms.
Well, I see a recurring theme, which I'd like to talk about after the break. We're going to take a very quick listen to our sponsors, and we will be right back. This episode of the Future Construct podcast is supported by the amazing team at Applied Software. They have solutions for any modern project. Applied Software is on a mission to transform industry by empowering their clients and being the champions of innovation with their real-world expert consultants. They have a comprehensive suite of solutions for AEC, MEP, and manufacturing, and they have a singular focus to help you achieve higher performance. They have software, training, support, consulting, and custom development. Applied Software has you absolutely covered for all of your workflow needs. And BIM Designs is proud to be a client and partner of Applied Software. So visit ASTI.com, that is ASTI.com, and please let them know that Future Construct and BIM Designs sent you. And we are back with Cristina Savian and talking about so many cool things, not the least of which is her crazy clubhouse adventure, which seems to be expanding at an exponential rate. But I have noticed a pattern in your career, and you've used the word unexpected to talk about both your leap into what I like to call the abyss of consulting. I'm right there with you. I've been there. I know what it feels like. I like the fact that you said, I don't even know which part of my brain people are going to want to use. And that was actually a really cool statement, because I think we forget that people, even if they have the specialty in one particular thing, and you've done what is now becoming required and will be required as we move forward, but you did it naturally and ahead of the curve, which was this journey of lifelong learning, right? Where you continued to get advanced degrees, you continued to study. I'm not entirely sure when you slept through that whole period of time while you were working in Europe and getting advanced degrees. But I'd love to hear a little bit about, what is the, kind of importance of having the level of confidence, for you, and even just to inspire others to say, look, I know this inside and out, and just pick a lane and go.
It's it's interesting. It's interesting because I was actually just about to say clubhouse is my new degree. Like, it's my new life learning. Every day I'm learning something new that I didn't know before. So it hasn't stopped really. But it's I think it was I certainly decided that life is I think you get to a point where life is your life is short, and you only get to do it once, and you make, of course, total mistakes, but it's up to you to go through and change and make those changes and make you happy. I think for me, probably we only know how we are ourselves, right? We don't know exactly 100% sure how other people perceive us, or sometimes we don't understand why they are who they are. We only really know truly, maybe, mostly ourselves. So, and I think the self-acceptance is probably the first where we need to start. We need to start to accept our naturally gift, the things that and learn, and basically trying to discover what we're very good at or we're naturally, lead towards, and then compared to other people. And certainly, which I actually discovered later in life, I had a very particular childhood that made me learn and certain things, right? So for me, losing those degrees while working full time, it's nothing, because I learned a particular skill when I was little, which allowed me to be very strict with my time and with my timekeeping and location and goal setting and doing the things that I wanted to achieve. So obviously I had to accept that was part of me, one of the things that I knew, but certainly the part I had to accept is some people are born to be always on the discovery phase and always be on this edge where, okay, what is next? What is next? Or what is next, right? And some people get exhausted, right? To be always in this constant, I need to learn more and more and more and more and more and more and more. But for me, in the moment I stop, then is when this is just not me, right? So I'm only really comfortable on that. And so I think for me, it was difficult I had to find a kind of a job or role where I could be truly myself, right? And I think one of the things is I'm not very good with boundaries. You can't really put me in a box. It's really, people try it, and trust me, it's just impossible, right? And so I had to also, find a career, especially, now where I didn't have those boundaries, people on, being like part of a big company or everything, just give me those, boundaries that for me, they were just too limiting. I have to be able to go in the direction I feel that is right. So in my case, I started just like really following my guts. And when I started my business, because, I don't know if it was the same for you, right? Because everyone is different. In my case, I made a list of the things that I thought were very important and my new job really and career need to have. And I think if it works, if you really made, if you really treat yourself and you actually picked and you've been honest, I think this is the reason why it worked for me, because I didn't have to work hard. I think I just start selecting the right things, the right things for me, because I still don't understand why it happened like so naturally, organically, without me even trying. And I think, I mentored the MBA at MIT in Melbourne. So I've been, I share, in our meetings, some of the tips, and everything, because obviously a lot of people want to start here. And I just say, trying to figure out, who you are. And then I can tell you're going to pick the best, things. If you are, meant to be an entrepreneur, you're going to become an entrepreneur. If you're meant to be, leading a large organization and you are going to do that, right? And then don't forget, maybe you are meant to be a dad. You're meant to be the best mom. You're meant to be, doing, not necessarily like professionally, right? So it's sometimes like we forget some of our fulfillments, come from. So I guess in my case, I tried to find what does fulfill me. And I can tell you that, honestly, after 3 years, I wouldn't have survived 3 years. And also, we went through for the last few years, and including expanding to the south of the world. But, it keeps going and the requests keep coming. And so I think I just need to accept this is what I'm meant to do. Will I do this I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if one day I decide, what, now it's time for me to do something different. I don't know. For the moment, it's certainly what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, I think I love that the way you described kind of being on the edge, because I think that there's really something to that in terms of, and you also mentioned that there were certain skills that you learned when you were younger that I don't think we necessarily kind of globally appreciate or think. And one of them is sort of around actually the creative thinking part. And there's some educational systems that put more focus on creativity than others, but mostly it's about kind of funneling us all through into this much more linear path. And I think that the way technology is evolving, we kind of have to do something different, and we have to urge kids to be more kind of exploratory. And that living on the edge is something, it again feeds into the lifelong learning. We're at a stage now where there's no other option than for us to continue learning because technology is evolving so quickly. And I don't want to go too far down this because I want to go back to the being honest in Clubhouse.
Okay.
And it's hard, well, because it's hard for people in big corporate jobs to say certain things because you've got Marcom. I would never pass Marcom's tests for, what to say and what not to say. So that's, it's just, and I don't want to either. I think I like bringing up the things that are wrong and are difficult. And, you talked about digital twins and how people are angry because I think we all have this vision that, well, all you do is you just like do a scan or you take a 3D asset and then that's your digital twin. And then like, it just stops there and it's magically one of the building blocks. And now everyone won't shut up about the metaverse. Oh my God. Like if I hear one more person who actually doesn't even work in the space go on an hour-long discussion on what the metaverse is, I can't take it. But, what are some of the things that you're hearing that are really the honest challenges of like, how do we leverage digital twins? Because the promise is magical, right? It's the digital twin, which is then smart buildings, which is wired into smart cities, which then becomes the AR cloud. That's a thing of beauty, but that's going to be really hard from a technological standpoint.
That is the challenge. I think for many aspects, it's just trying, they're trying to sell as utopia, and I think because I started, as I say, started researching on my own at the back of what could have prevented that bridge to collapse, what could have prevented the Grenfell tower event. I can tell you that as a London, it's just staring and watching at those events, and I'm sure in US, seeing the building in
Florida,
you see that it's just like this, right? So we can definitely do better, and I think that is where the way we should think about it. At the moment, I can tell you this: the most asked question was, what's the definition of digital twin? And I can tell you that there is no agreement. And guess what? We will never agree. There is just no global, international, organization, even if some company, organization have set, to do that. But the reality is, there is how many countries, how many nationalities, we can't just listen in, necessarily to the English, what the English word says, right? We also need to be able to be global and accept. So I can tell you this, it's absolutely impossible to ever agree on, his definition. I think what we have to look at is start from the concept that was, started 15 years ago, and what is creating this digital representation, digital representation, which helps you to understand your asset. So the way I come in, I'm actually going to give you my definition, the one I cloned, which I think just summarizes everything. But the way I see it is, we can't go and analyze our build asset. We can't do that. We analyze the building. We can't analyze our still infrastructure. Yeah, I spent the entire morning, with a customer, and we're discussing digital twins of, offshore oil rig. Yeah, you can't be there. You just can't be there, right? So all you're looking for is what is that, digital representation. So the digital replica that will help you to analyze and to make those decisions, right? Because you just can't do it, with the built asset. And that's it, that's really what is the, digital twin, is just the ability to have the digital world helping you to figure things that you can't really do in real life. And of course, then they come where, okay, how are we going to do this? We need to scan this, and then we're going to bring all the technology. Okay, let's maybe start adding some sensors. Let's start, using drones, So you can immediately see how it's just, bringing in technology is just, right, to fulfill, a need. I think one of the things certainly that I found is sometimes they'll say, oh, we have to create a digital. Why? Why? We're not, we're not creating it just for the sake of it, right? It's not that necessarily every single build asset needs this digital twin. Come on, it comes with a cost, right? So it's about what does the digital replica allows you to analyze. And of course, and is when you think about, let's think about predictive maintenance. Oh, if I had this data, I could save so much. And you can admit, oh, you know what? If I could model this, I know exactly when I have to maintain it, and I can avoid the collapse. Yeah, those are really the answer that we're trying to, the question we're trying to answer. So, and it's sometimes I think at the moment from, because it's this so like buzzword, sometimes we're like, you know what, we're just trying to answer the question. So to put it into perspective, I'm going to give you my definition. I think to summarize on really what digital twin is. So as a construction professionals, yeah, we are the artists of the built environment who carefully select the materials to be applied. A digital twin is the combination of the canvas with the integrated inherited understanding of our existing built asset and how they interact with the previous, the current, and the future generations.
That is where, is that on your website, I hope?
Yeah. I published it like many times.
I know I had, I
presented this in.
Yeah. So we're going to have to, we'll make sure it's in the notes when we release this, because I highly recommend that you go to Cristina's website, because it is, as you would imagine, it's beautiful. But it's very informative. And then I know has links to all of your other podcast appearances, even though we hope this is going to be the most fun and most watched.
Of course. But, and I claim this, for, I was doing a keynote in Helsinki in 2019. I mean, I can tell you this, at that time, there was nothing. Like there was not even a publication on this topic, right? And so I published, 2019 with the Institute of Engineering and Environment, Institute of Engineering and Environment IT in London. One of the first white papers on this, right? And it's how many hundreds of documents? Actually, I have one organization that just asked me to help them to write, a paper for their members organization. And I can tell you this. Now the problem is that it's just too much and you need to select very carefully. And that is when sometimes I just like to cut through the nose and just say, you know what? That's what we're after, right? The utopia, the vision. And
it's like, there is something about kind of keeping it simple. And I definitely want to call out the fact that, it's, and I think this is true of any technology. It's, what do you want to do? What is the utility? Then you look at the technology and figure out what technology you need, how much of it you need to accomplish whatever the goal happens to be. Because I think we're doing a lot of technology first. But you did also mention
exactly. But the technology changes. The technology changes all the time.
Oh yeah,
every time. we make and we start implementing Saudi technology solutions, they're out of date, by the time we implement, especially when we start doing it for like large organizations. Think about the technology that it's selected, even just the design phase, even of a project that's actually really has a quick turnaround. By the time it's completed, most of the time, the specs are out of date.
Yeah.
And we don't really think that actually at all point was not the technology, but the goal itself. Exactly what goals do we want to achieve? Okay, great. And and I had this, and just to give you the answer, the biggest challenge and the biggest barrier to implementing in this case like digital twin or technology is procurement. Our procurement process, which has never really changed forever, and we also know, and I can tell you, whatever country, it's the same historically, and it just doesn't have the flexibility to make those very important changes and provisions for the future, because you bid for something and need to deliver what you bid, and what you said you were going to deliver, and you can't change and deviate from that. And especially when we start doing and thinking about digital twinning, it's like, we don't know what 10, 15 years, 20, 30, 50 years ago is going to be available. So now you tell me the whole point of digital twinning is certainly the biggest benefits in the long term and of an asset, we're talking hundreds of years. There's just no way what technology is going to be available. So that is when most of the time the way I try to solve it is like, what data do you think you're going to need, and focus on those data insights and just keep changing the technology that allows you to create that, right? So if you put the data as the center point and the information, right? Or that is the goal, this is what I want to achieve. So to achieve that, I need that information. And then you always keep the information that will never change. You either are going to have a lot more information available thanks to technology, and because also sometimes it gets cheaper, better, sensors and so on. But the goals never change. The technology will always evolve. And that is when I think we need to be better at just trying to fast-paced, that in our construction world. Yeah. That's our biggest problem.
Yeah. And because we don't know what we don't know. But let's take a little trip to the future, because I know you do spend a lot of time thinking about what's next. And so let's go 20, 25 years, like past that edge that you live on a day-to-day basis. And you can bring with you, anything, any service or thing or gadget that would just make your life better on a personal level. What would it be and what would it do?
So I think a couple of years ago, probably would have answered something different. I think the priorities or the needs or whatever. Teletransportation.
Yeah, I like that.
I think it's just, especially because of the experience that we all went through worldwide. The fact that I was living in a country which is currently still with closed borders, you really understand what your biggest need is, which is teletransport yourself and hug the person that you need to hug. Because yes, we might be able, right now in being, from two sides in the world and communicate, and everything, but there are things that we can't replace. We can't, I don't think we'll ever be able to transmit the smell of the taste of like the people, right? We'll never, technology probably never replicate that. And I think this personal connection will always be there. So teletransportation. No. Yeah.
I love that. I'm with you. And I think that's just a perfect example of using technology to elevate the human experience. I think we all need to do a little bit more of that. Cristina, it has been such a pleasure talking with you. I cannot wait to jump in and start complaining about things in your clubhouse. how
No,
slowly
now,
everything's moving.
actually, you now need to promise something, which you're gonna come as a guest in one of my clubhouse.
100%. This has been so much fun. We'll have to have you back because I think we need to talk about many, many, many more things. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.